This Monday edition of Pucks Across Border, the NHL betting show, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now at firstroundcollectibles.com, use our promo code SportsAddict for 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons and tons of cards. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. You get the idea. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order, both regular priced and sales priced items. That's the number one. STRoundCollectibles.com, firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beat's
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders on a Monday afternoon on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Good to be back. Hope everybody had a great weekend, a wonderful Thanksgiving. And speaking of Americans, Andre is back with us. I hope you had a great day on Friday, man. We missed you. It's good to have you back. You've had to do a show here and there without me, so you deserved it, man. You deserved the time. How you doing, man? How was your weekend? It's good to see you.
Weekend was good. Day's going well. Holiday was fine besides the fact that some team that wears blue and, just happens to rep the same city I do played football. But otherwise, it was great. It's fantastic. I want to give a shout out to Sean for popping up on the show. He was awesome. You two had some great conversations going. He should pop back up. We're friendly people, right? Three's company. You never know.
Yeah. I would love to have Sean back on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. It's cool having Sean on. It's cool talking DFS. I don't do DFS. I'm not allowed to here. And technically, he's not allowed to here either. I don't know what happens there. What goes on there? But no, Sean's a great guy. If you missed the show, Sean at Big Number 55 works for Rotoballers doing NHL DFS. So yeah, great shout out there. We appreciate it. Maybe I'll reach out, see if he wants to come back on. I'm sure he does. He works from home, so we all know what working from home means.
You could DFS when we have those terrible days where the only games are like, Chicago, Utah. We just need something to actually enjoy.
You mean like today? Chicago, Utah,
Hey.
Toronto, Rangers.
One of those teams is enjoyable.
Well, I want to have this conversation with you real quickly. So typically we do, what's your takeaway from the weekend? And there was lots of crazy stuff about the weekend. Your Rangers kind of had a tough day on Saturday, bounced back in a big way yesterday. Or was it Friday? Bounce back Saturday.
Friday into Saturday.
Yeah. That's right. The Sharks, highest scoring team in the league over the last week, beat the Kraken back-to-back. That's a little concerning. The Predators keep blowing leads and keep losing. The Maple Leafs with a big win on Saturday over the Lightning. There's lots to get into. The Capitals beat the Devils over the weekend. Lots to get into. But I wanted to have this conversation with you. So I will quickly go over yesterday's scores. Canucks beat the Red Wings 5-4. Bruins, in the 100th anniversary of Boston Bruin hockey, the Bruins beat the Canadiens 6-3. Blue Jackets beat the Blackhawks 6-3. Stars with a big win over the Jets. The Stars are interesting, man, because they had a really rough start to the week. They blew a 3-1 lead to Carolina, and they got pumped by Chicago like the next night or a couple nights later. So beating Colorado on Friday, beating the Jets on Sunday, great finish to the week. We'll talk more about them. They play Utah tonight. The Ducks beat Ottawa 4-3, and Ottawa is just keep on being Ottawa, which might come up in this next conversation. So that was yesterday's action. I want to talk to you because we hear a lot in the hockey space of the season, like who you are as a team by American Thanksgiving, right? That's kind of the imaginary line in place for GMs to kind of figure out what they're doing moving forward. And American Thanksgiving has come and gone. We are now the Monday after. What's today? Doesn't today have a name? It's like Black Friday.
Everything has a name these days, man. It's Cyber Monday.
Oh, Cyber
it's
Monday.
Not real.
That's right.
Not real.
Cyber Monday. Well, on this Cyber Monday, I thought I can't even segue. This has nothing to do with cyber or anything, but I thought we would go through the playoff teams, right? Before the season starts, we always kind of go through the playoffs, and is it going to be the exact same teams getting in as last year? And if there's new teams in, which teams come out? Always those kind of fun projections. Well, let's go through the playoff teams in each conference, where they are, like which teams are in, which teams are out. Who do we think is in for good, and who do we think is out? I'm curious if there's any. Maybe there's not. And maybe every team that's in right now will just be in. We'll see what happens. In the East, we'll start with the East. The Panthers, Maple Leafs, and Bruins are top 1, 2, 3 in the Atlantic. Washington, New Jersey, and Carolina are 1, 2, 3 in the Met. While in the wild card, the Rangers and Philly both have 27 points. Those are your two wild card teams. After that, you have Tampa Bay with 26 points, Columbus with 25 points, Buffalo with 24, Islanders and Pittsburgh both with 24, Detroit with 23, Ottawa 22. So right now in the playoffs, Florida, Toronto, Boston, Washington, New Jersey, Carolina, Rangers, and Flyers. Andre, out of those 8 teams, who's coming out, who's staying in? We don't have to worry about, the Rangers, for example, if they're going to be in the wild card or if they're going to be in the top 3. We don't need to worry about that. But out of those 8 teams, who's coming out, who's staying in?
Yeah, I think Florida, Toronto, Jersey, Carolina, Rangers, all teams expected to make it pretty easy. All teams that are in right now, regardless of their struggles or strengths so far, all teams I think that are going to be fine. Even if they don't live up to their quote-unquote standard with the points they've already banked, with their talent, they should be fine. The Capitals, I think, have played well enough to this point. The first in the East, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
They've deserved and earned a spot. I think I'm going to pencil them in. Kudos to them. Really strong start to the season. They look like a good team. They look a lot different from last year's team. The Ovi injury is a little ominous, but they're making do without it so far. They've won 4 in a row. The Bruins, get them out of here.
Yeah.
Get them out of here. I think the Lightning are still – I know the Lightning are out of it right now. They have 3 fewer games played, only 1 less point. The Lightning have – their goal differential is 20 plus 29 better. They're plus 13. The Bruins minus 16. They've been pretty inconsistent, uneven at times, but they have top-end talent. I know they've just been a flat-out better team for most of the season. I think that 3rd spot in the Atlantic is still Tampa's to lose, even if they don't occupy it right now, even if the Bruins have a new coach and new life and whatever you want to call it. The 100th season is fitting that they played the Canadiens, by the way.
Yeah, kind of cool.
But 100th season means nothing because it's the New York Giants 100th season. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. It means absolutely nothing. Bruins aren't making the playoffs, at least right now. That last spot, right now, that's 3 Atlantic teams, 4 Metro teams. That last spot, Flyers look pretty good. The Flyers had a decent season last year, could have made the playoffs, didn't. They had some promise coming into this year, even though they're a young team. Got off to a really rough start. They've turned it around. They're fighting. They look fun. Putting them into that spot wouldn't be a bad idea, but I feel like of all the teams left in the East, the one I like the most, and it's going to sound pretty weird and gross because I'm pretty sure I picked them to finish last in the East overall, definitely last in the Metro.
Ooh,
I think Columbus.
talk to me.
I think it's going to be
Yeah.
Columbus. That their offense is definitely more reliable than Philly's. Goal prevention a little on the shaky side, but it's not like the Flyers have been much better. They're one of the bottom 10 teams when it comes to goals allowed too. So I think I'm going to take Columbus in that last spot. 5 Metro teams, 3 Atlantic teams, Bruins and Flyers out, Lightning and Jackets in.
So I like where you're going with this because so for me, I think Boston fades away as well. I think what's happening with the new coach and all that kind of stuff um is fine. It's good. They're still losing games. Like they beat the Canadians over the weekend, but they're still kind of losing games. I don't really trust it. Um sorry, everybody. Sorry. Yeah, I don't really trust it. I don't really think I am. I mean, I'd have to look closer at what Jeremy Swayman's doing here. Corpusalo's arguably been better, statistically
Yep.
anyway. I don't really trust what I'm seeing in Boston. Are they going to be in the mix? Are they going to be around? Would I be shocked if they find their way into the playoffs? Of course not. Boston is they're always around. They're always in the mix. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think they fade away too. And that leaves you with, okay, the conversation you just had, Philadelphia. When I look at this, so Boston out, and I think you're right. Tampa probably moves up to that third spot. I do think that Tampa, it is theirs to lose. I'm right there with you. So on that, you and I are on the same here. Now, when it comes to that last wild card spot, I think Boston had, even though what I just said, I think Boston still they're going to be around it. Philadelphia for sure. The thing with Columbus is, we've talked at length about how much they score. They did it again over the weekend against the Blackhawks. They won 6-3, I think yesterday it was. They're doing it again. Like, what was their score? They played Saturday, did they not?
For sure. Everybody played Saturday. Was that Friday? They did. They played yesterday 6-3. They played Friday, and then that was the Flames game 5-2.
Right. And they won 5-2. So Columbus, when they win, they score a bunch. We've kind of talked about that a lot. To me, let's look at the other teams right now in the East. Buffalo, like take away Tampa, right? Buffalo, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Ottawa, Montreal. Do you think it's unreasonable to think that over the next whatever it is, 4 or 5 months, is it unreasonable to think that Columbus is going to win more than all those teams? It really is not that far fetched. It really isn't. And I'm kind of with you. Now, I think either Philly or Boston sneaks into that last wild card spot, but I would like it to be Philly because the playoffs without Boston would just be freaking awesome. It'd be so good. I'd be so happy. The Leafs will probably still find a way to lose in the first round of the Flyers somehow, but I I'm with you, man. I think that Columbus absolutely has a real chance to be in that last spot, and I'm curious to see, right? Like what's like management gonna do? Are they like I don't really know what they can do. I have to look at the cap structure, what kind of picks they have, what kind of prospects they have. I'm not well adverse to the to the situation that Columbus is in, but I'm right there with you, man. I think they have a real shot to make it.
I think that point you just brought up, though, is really good. I guess when you're trying to predict what teams are going to do, are the Flyers or the Jackets, for that matter, committed to pushing for the playoffs come deadline time? The Bruins obviously have a lot of reason to go all in, regardless if they're anywhere near a playoff spot. They have all the incentive in the world to try to make it to the playoffs, try to make it to the cup. When you look at Columbus and Philly, younger teams, they could make trades and could position themselves well. At the same time, do you try to handicap the future that you're building for a playoff push now, or do you just kind of stay with the course, make little smaller moves? Obviously, down the line, we'll have a clear picture where each team is, where each team's mindset is. But for now, as much as I think Columbus, I think, has been the better of those three teams we just talked about. I think Philly is probably the most likely to make the playoffs based on looking ahead,
Yeah.
honestly. But if we're talking about the deadline, what it does to teams shaping a playoff push, that's the edge that Boston has if you're looking at that last spot, because with, they just paid Swayman, and you can't waste a year of Pasternak. You can't waste what might be the last year of Marchand. There's just so many reasons why the Bruins would be incentivized to swing for the fences, even if they're not a championship team per se. We see it with the Penguins all the time. So that's a huge factor down the road. But for now, let's just hope Columbus stacks all the points and gets there.
Oh,
I want to hear some cannons.
I would love to see it, man. And I think the other thing with Boston, man, is at the end of the day, they do have a very good goaltending tandem when both of their goalies are playing right. Out of those teams, Philly, Columbus, Boston clearly has the best goaltending tandem. Both of them. Korpisalo is a really good goalie too when he's good. When he's bad, the wheels fall off. It can get bad in a hurry. But when Korpisalo's playing well, he's a great goaltender. Obviously, Swayman, we know what he can do and what he got paid to do. So, but for me, you have both those two goaltenders. So Boston should be the more likely team. I just don't see it with this group of players anymore. And they're at the end where Columbus, Philly are all building something new. Now, to kind of end this conversation, but with the fact that I'd be curious to see what you think about this, Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa. Those three teams still should be in this conversation.
Big three.
They all, in my opinion, and I know we can pick apart goaltending or defense or pick apart certain things, but Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa all have good, talented rosters. It's just, do these players work well together? Theoretically, on paper, should Philly have a better chance of getting in than Buffalo or Detroit or Ottawa? I feel like all these teams, talent-wise, should be able to compete with Philly. And that's no disrespect to Philly, but they're in the middle of kind of rebuilding this thing, where Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo have been building for the last decade. I don't know. Those three teams should have a say in this. Do you think? I don't know.
No,
what can you say at this point?
I mean, they're still in it. It's not like they're so far behind the Flyers. I think the Sabres are 3 points back. The Red Wings and Senators are 4. I think the Senators are 5. Red Wings are 4. But I mean, we've seen this dance with these teams so many times, and at some point, it becomes a culture thing, right? I mean, I feel like the Flyers have culture. They have John freaking Tortorella behind the bench. If you get anything out of that man, it's going to be structure. It's going to be an identity. It's going to be discipline. It's going to be toughness. What have the Sabres built throughout the duration of this rebuild? Nothing really. The Red Wings, we thought they had an identity. We thought they had culture. Now they're not scoring goals. Their PK last year was solid. It's the worst in the league right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the Red Wings. We thought they had cohesion. We thought there was something there. I mean, of the 7 teams I locked into the playoffs, I had all of those in. My 8th team was the Red Wings. And that's how highly I thought of them coming into the season. A lot of people thought they would be fringe wild card, kind of what they did last year, had a chance if they kept growing. They've fallen flat on their face for most of this season. And then the Senators. You can handle the Senators, but it's just the Flyers have an intangible that those franchises don't really have. And,
Yeah.
winning is a culture, and sometimes you lose it, particularly in Detroit, because they did go to the playoffs however many years in a row. Uh, and getting back into that is not easy, even with all the talent in the world. You see it in sports at every level, any sport really across the globe. So I can't really trust them, even though I understand that the talent's there. On paper, they're a better team than the Flyers. On paper, they have higher expectations. In practice, I'm a trusted Tortorella team more than Ottawa or Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny thing with the Red Wings, right, bro? Because like I remember coming into the season, I was really high on them, and we did our like way too early predictions back in like July. And I remember being pretty high on them then, and coming into it, I was pretty high on them. But the one caveat that I had, and this was back in whatever it was, September, was the goaltending. They had like 19 goaltenders signed, and I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't really particularly like the Cam Talbot signing. They had Husso, they had what was the other guy? Jack
Lion.
Campbell. Yeah, Lions. And I just didn't really know what they were doing with the goaltending, and it really bothered me. Funny enough, the goaltending will not be the reason this team doesn't make it to the playoffs. I don't know what happened. They're like, I obviously follow these teams, but I don't watch the Red Wings every night, so I don't know. Like, every single game last year wasn't over. Like, they scored a bunch of goals, they gave up a bunch of goals. Maybe they tried to fix that so hard, so now they don't like give up goals, but they also don't score goals either. I don't know, but that's the kind of funny thing. The thing with Ottawa, man, is you know when you're a team like the Hurricanes, a team like the Rangers, a team like the Leafs, a team like Dallas, a team like Vegas, you're allowed some bad games, right? You're allowed to lose to Chicago 6-2, like um, the Stars did last week. You're allowed to lose to Anaheim 4-3 on a Sunday. You're allowed to have some of these games. I don't know. Did I say the Rangers? I meant the Rangers as well. When you're the Ottawa Senators, you're not allowed. Like you can't. Like you're playing Anaheim on a Saturday night. We've talked about Anaheim. I'm all about this Anaheim team. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs or not, but they got a really good goaltending tandem back there, and their young guys are playing really well. This is no slight to Anaheim. I really like what they're doing. I think they're a good hockey team. Are they good enough to make it to the playoffs? That's another conversation, but I think they're competitive for sure. But if you're the Ottawa Senators, you gotta beat the Ducks, man. You have to. You can't. You can't lose to the Ducks. You can't. And I understand these games happen. I understand everyone's getting paid. Everyone's a professional hockey player, but you haven't afforded yourself the luxury of losing winnable hockey games. You just haven't. You haven't made it to the playoffs since what, 2017, maybe even longer than that. The Canadian bubble thing doesn't count. I don't know if they made it into that or not, but that doesn't count. Doesn't matter. So like that game yesterday, let me just look this up. Yeah, like not only did you lose that game, you were never leading it. Like you're losing 1-0 early, tie it up 1-1, down 2-1, tie it up 2-2, down 3-2, tie it up 3-3, eventually lose in overtime, shootout actually. You just can't, you haven't afforded yourself an opportunity to chase games against the Ducks. You just haven't. But I don't know. Nobody cares about Ottawa. I need to remember that. I keep getting fixated on how stupid this team is. They drive me nuts, but somehow I keep just talking about them. And I don't know. Out of all the viewers that are watching us right now, how many are in Canada? I don't know. But I'm assuming most of them are in the States, and I'm assuming most of them don't care. So that's my frustration with the Ottawa Senators.
I kind of to pivot to the Western Conference, kind of to get on you for discrediting a legitimate win. The Montreal Canadiens have a Clarence S. Campbell Bowl, and you shouldn't just throw away that season because you don't like it.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's what the West gets.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's true. Eh? They were the Western Conference representatives in the COVID bubble.
That's right.
That's so funny and so stupid. But you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Is there any? What's the one trophy that you respect from the COVID bubble? Would it be like the
Like in sports
NFL?
in general.
Yeah, like from the bubble, like the NFL, the Super Bowl, because they played a full
Yeah.
season and it was like fine.
I don't find issue with those championships. Like I think baseball. I think baseball's because just the season was so short. Like
Yeah,
baseball's such a sample size sport. But I think like for the other sports, like NHL, they played what 56 games before the playoffs. Every team had
yeah,
a fair shake, and I
something
think
like
there was an extra team that made, or no, Canada, the Canadian division had extra odds to make the playoffs. Because there was only 7 teams in that division.
that. Yeah.
That's kind of shaky. But I don't know. Like people say it's illegitimate. There's no fans. Blah blah blah. I think the concentration it takes to play when it's just the sport. Like when you're in a bubble, there's no fans. Like you got to lock in because a lot of these teams and players checked out because there were no fans and they didn't have the usual environment they were into. They were thrown off their routine. I think being a
For
champion,
sure.
the adaptability, the focus it took to not only compete but thrive in those conditions, I think it's legit.
I think I'm starting to think about it now, and I think this really goes. I think I'm projecting my dislike for LeBron, and I just want to discount every bubble because LeBron just drives me crazy, and I refuse to give him any props for winning with the Lakers because this
Fair.
doesn't count in my opinion. I think that's what this is. I think this is I think this has nothing to do with hockey, but I actually do agree with you with the baseball thing. Like you play 60 games
Yeah.
in a 162 game season. Like it's just not really fair.
Like we went through a month thinking Randy Arozarena was the greatest baseball player of all time. Granted, he's an all-star, but
sure.
like come on.
Yeah. That's why it was important. I mean, this is a whole other thing, but that's why it was important for the Dodgers to win a legitimate World Series. Even though is their roster, how legitimate is it? I don't know. And they just signed Blake Snell, which is like crazy. And they're about to sign Juan Soto too. But I'm just kidding. All right. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. I'm sorry. All right. Let's move on to the Western Conference. In the Central, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas. Minnesota, according to winning percentage, now first place in the Central. Good for them. Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas, 1, 2, 3 in the Central. Vegas, Kings, Canucks, 1, 2, 3 in the Pacific. Edmonton and Calgary, a little Alberta action, hogging up those 2 wildcard spots with 28 points each. Colorado, 26 points. Utah, 24. St. Louis, 24. Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose, 23. Only 5 points back. Nashville, 20. Chicago, 18. So what do you got? So once again, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas, Vegas, Kings, Canucks, Edmonton, Calgary, all in the playoffs. Colorado, Utah, St. Louis are the 3 on the outside looking in. Of course, you got Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose, Nashville, Chicago as well. What do you got? Who's in, who's out?
Yeah, the West isn't really as exciting. I think both of us entering the season said if the Wild are healthy, they're a playoff team.
Yep.
They should be, right? They're healthy. They have the best record in the league. So good for them. I'm locking them in. Jets are in. Based on their start alone, it would be very, very difficult to not make the playoffs. And for
They'd
their
have to
sake,
fall off a cliff. Both
for
of
their
those
sake,
teams.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They're a pretty good hockey team, though. I think they still have the best. Oh, they're second to the Caps now in goal differential. So Jets are staying in, Stars are staying in. It's a great team, even if they've have some duds every once in a while. Golden Knights, they're juggernauts at home, doing well enough on the road. Really good team. They're in. The Kings, they just find ways to win. They've been monstrous at home this season. They're in. The Canucks, very talented team. They will get better at home. Uh, Probably will rise as their away record falls, but that's fine because they're in a good position right now. Uh, as long as they stay away from not Thatcher Demko, Shelovs, as long as they stay away from him, they will be
Oh
fine.
yeah.
So,
I
Canucks.
feel so bad for that dude because like he was such a sensation in the playoffs last year, and he just has never been able to get it going.
Yeah, I mean that's how quick it turns, though, especially
Yeah.
like goalie like positions like that. You know, it's a lot of mental. I bet if he had like back to back shutouts, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm good at this again." He'd
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be fine the rest of the year. But got to work to get there. Even with his struggles, though, I mean that's a team, 29 points in 23 games. So compared to the rest of the West, they're looking pretty good. Uh, the tricky part is the wild card. You'd think the Oilers are too talented not to make it, especially after they just won the West. Calgary, they've been playing well. They've been better than Colorado this season. I think part of Colorado's problem, and I guess part of a broader NHL problem, they have no overtime losses. The Avs do. They're 13-12 straight up. Um,
Oh yeah.
and
Good
those
point.
losers' points help. As the
Yeah.
Islanders last year, those losers' points add up very quickly. So in a race where they're 2 points back of the Flames, and the Flames have 4 losers' points, that is literally the difference. I do think the Avs are a better team, though. The thing that bothers me about Calgary, they're 3-6-4 on the road, and it's a lot harder to get going on the road. If you're a team that struggles on the road, it doesn't turn around uh, with what you have typically. Maybe the schedule gets easier, and that's how it cheapens up the record. But traveling is something that you're going to have to do and win consistently to overcome good teams, to get into the playoffs, to win a playoff series. I don't think they're that team. Colorado has a top end talent. Colorado has been playing better. I think that's the only change I would really make to the West. I'm honestly still not afraid to put Colorado in the top 3 in the Central. I know you didn't quite ask for that, but I think 4 from the Pacific, 4 from the Central is what we got here, and I'm taking Calgary out.
Honestly, man, I think that's based on history. That's obviously like a good like move. I understand it. And it's probably the most realistic. A couple things though, man. Number one, I know that Colorado. Well, first we'll talk about the 2 wildcard teams. I'm with you. I think Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas, Vegas, LA, Vancouver. I think all 6 of those teams are safe. I would love to see the Kings not safe because they bore me, but I think they will get in. And I think too, man, like you said it, like you got 31 points. I know it like 28 doesn't seem like that far away. It's only 3 points. But if you're like, for example, if you're the Minnesota Wild right now, 36 points. If you are NHL 500 for the rest of the year, you're getting around 94 points. And that's probably around what you need to get in. So for the Kings, if they play a little bit better than 500, they're probably getting in, right? That's only by a couple points. If the Oilers play 500 from here on out, they're probably missing it, right? They gotta be substantially better than what they've been. This is the thing for me, man. And I don't know, maybe I'm going out on a limb, maybe I'm searching for a story, maybe I'm looking at something that's not there. I don't know. Number one, Colorado. I know that they got Scott Wedgwood over the weekend. I think that's a good trade. He's a good backup, solid backup goaltender in the NHL. He's not going to be your savior here. You know, I know like Georgiev and a Noonan, You needed to add another like NHL goaltender back there. I think Scott Wedgwood's a good goalie. He was really good for Dallas last year. I know nothing against him, but he's not going to save you. Colorado, they don't look good right now, man. Like, I know that they're winning games, but they just don't look good. And I know they've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of people out of their lineup. Maybe they need a little bit of time to kind of get the boys, familiar with each other again and whatever. But like that game against Dallas over the weekend, I think Friday night, was pretty concerning. Like, it was theoretically a pretty close game at the end of it, but for the first two periods, man, you never thought Colorado was winning that hockey game. And then you go to Edmonton and Calgary. Andre, honestly, I trust Calgary more than I trust the Oilers right now. I just do. Like, I think, Dustin Wolf and Vladar, like Dan Vladar, have been pretty good for the Flames. And like goaltending for the Oilers continues to scare me. And just as a whole, the Oilers need McDavid and Draisaitl to put up 3 points a night. And I don't know, man. I kind of trust the Flames more. I think what we see right now is what we're going to see. I think these 6 teams make it into the playoffs, or these 8 teams make it into the playoffs. And I feel like Colorado misses, and Utah, St. Louis. I feel like what we see right now is what we're going to get. The only thing that I can see not the only way I can see that, not the only way, I'm sure there's many ways, but one of the ways I can see it not happening like that, and maybe, Calgary falls out, is if management like doubles downs on a rebuild and says, okay, we're too good. Get rid of Rasmus Anderson, get rid of this guy, get rid of Kadri. Of course, there's rumors of Kadri coming back to Toronto somehow. So, that's what I feel like. Maybe Calgary does what they did last year and gets rid of some key pieces down the stretch. But to me, man, I don't know. I think what we see is what we get right now.
It's fair. I think when you're just specifically looking at, because we kind of agree, right? The Oilers are going to make it somehow, just talent.
Yeah, figure it out.
I think just when you look at Calgary has, for the most part, been more reliable this season. They're more predictable, for better or worse, because at home it'll be tough. Out, they're probably going to win. On the road, the offense is going to dry up. They're probably going to lose. I guess the question for Colorado, one, at the deadline, how committed are you to improving the team and trying to get another cup out of this core? Two, can you, like, you've been very streaky to start this year, can you, cut down on the losing streaks and then sustain the winning streaks for longer? And three, can you get replacement level goaltending from anybody? I mean, they're on their 5th goaltender at this point. Wedgwood will be their 5th goalie of the season to play for them. The only person who has a save percentage over 875, that's 7 out of 8 shots, Trent Miner. He played 1 game. He faced 13 shots. I don't even think he started that game. So they're just Noonan, Georgie, Kakinen for that 1 start, just all been awful. If Wedgwood is decent, they're going to be fine. And I mean, I saw this team play recently. The skaters, they're not looking like the Avs of old that are just going to, light the lamp 5 times every single night. And you're just praying that you get 6 because their goaltending's that bad. But they were structured enough. They were sound defensively. They were creating chances offensively. I think the lack of confidence in the back end seeps into the rest of the core. So whether it's Wedgwood, whether they swing another trade, whether they call somebody up, who knows? I think Colorado has a lot more reason with where they are, how they've played so far, and the talent they have to catch up to the Flames. And that's really it. But based on what we've seen so far, for sure, Calgary has been more reliable and trustworthy than Edmonton and the Avs. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think like what you said, like I do think it makes sense that Calgary is the one on the outside looking in, and the Avalanche find their way in. I do think that makes sense. But just what I've seen from Calgary, man, I don't know. I love this team. Can't explain it. I have a love affair with this team, and I'm all about it. All right, there you have it. Our little post Thanksgiving looking on what we think is going to happen for the rest of the year. Some early playoff predictions. It's never too early to talk playoffs. Let's move on. 3 games in the NHL tonight. Let's get to it. One of which, by the way, not the game we're going to start with, but there's one of these games where it is so hard to find value, and we will do our best. Let's start off with the Rangers in New York to take on the New Jersey Devils. They were minus 122, now minus 120. The Rangers plus 100. Minus 1.5 for the Devils is plus 194. Plus 1.5 for the Rangers is minus 245. The over is 6.5 at minus 110. And the under is also minus 110. Andre, what do you got, man? Rangers, Devils. I got to say, tough game against the Flyers on Friday. I hate to do this to you, but both Sean and I did pick the Flyers to win, and it proved right within 5 minutes. And then they're up 3-1 on Montreal. Everything's looking good. Boom, it's tied, and they find a way to get the win. Where are you at right now with your team, man? I'll give you a couple minutes. You weren't here on Thursday or Friday. Where are you at with this team, bro? And what do you see for tonight?
Yeah, this is going to be – I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off now. This is going to be one of the most painful picks I ever make regarding my team.
Oh, yeah.
Confidence is at an all-time low. I'm not even going to lie to you. Now, granted, I think we're good. I think we're competitive. Like, the sky's not falling in the grand sense of things, but the Carolina game, let's go back to that. That was the last time that was on the show, I believe, was before that. And I said, Carolina doesn't have a goalie. They're going to win. And the Rangers were up 3-2 entering the third period on a team with no goalie, and they lost 4-3. And they lost 4-3 in regulation. They didn't even force OT. They didn't score again. So that was really bad. They go to Philly 2 days later, Black Friday. And granted, Philly's playing really well. Kudos to them. They played a really good game. Shut the Rangers down. Scored that second goal. Never really looked back. The Rangers made it 2-1, but obviously it was never close. Montreal the very next day, back at home. Easy team. Should be an easy win. You're up 3-1 entering the third. You let the Canadians tie it. You need a last-second goal from Capo Caco to pull out 2 points in that game. Not last second, last minute, but, I mean, the point stands. That's a team you should be blowing out if you're a good team. 3 of those goals were on the power play, by the way. So there was the 5-on-5 production is non-existent. It's rough. It's really rough right now. I don't even know. I don't know what to say. Filipino. I told you before the season, actually, funny enough, because you asked me specifically about the Rangers' third line. I said if Filipino stays healthy, this Rangers team will be fine. The third line will be very productive. The top 2 lines, less pressure. They'll just be the normal selves. Filipino got hurt. The wheels fell off.
Is that what you think this is, though, Andre? Because I don't fully understand what I'm watching.
It's not. This goes way deeper than anything anyone outside of the organization will know, I feel like. This is a very much an internal thing from, I think it starts with Chris Drury at the GM spot and trickles down to, Berard, the rookie, who made his debut recently. I think it really stems from Trouba blocking the trade because his wife was in med school and the team wanted to reshape the roster, couldn't do it. It was just awkward vibes and whatever it is. The hunger's not there anymore. The cohesion's not there anymore. They're telling everybody they're searching for answers, but the answers are within because this is the same team. You should know what you have to go out there and do. Last year's Rangers team, they went up against the Devils 4 times. They beat them 4 times. They punched them in the mouth physically and metaphorically. They were upset they got eliminated in the playoffs the year before. They had new life. They were, tired of the Gallant years. They got Laviolette. What this Rangers team looks like is the Gallant playoff series against the Devils, where they quit on the team. They were up 2-0. They got punched in the mouth by the Devils in the playoffs. They quit. And then, game 7, you got it to a game 7 somehow. And nobody showed up except for Igor and 2 fourth-liners. That's what the Rangers look like right now. They're giving up way too many shots. And this Devils team, I've talked about the Rangers way too much. This Devils team is very good. They're 10-4 on the road. They've been playing fantastic hockey on the road all season. Not exactly like blowing teams away every single night, but they're consistently winning, 2 or 3 in a row, losing 1, 2 or 3 in a row, losing 1. They're consistently scoring 4, 5, 6 goals every single night. They're obviously going to be motivated. This is a rivalry game. They need these 2 points. They just lost 5-6 to Washington. They fell behind a little bit in the division. They think they can win the division. High scoring game for sure. I think the Devils are going to get a ton of shots up. I think the Rangers are going to do everything to match. I'm not going to be surprised at all when the Devils win this game. So over 6.5, Devils money line.
I think that's the thing that concerns me the most, man, is like, I'm assuming Shesterkin's in net tonight. I think Quick played on Saturday.
He did play on Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm assuming Shesterkin's back in net tonight. Listen, it's the defense for the Rangers that's just fallen off the face of the earth. Like, I don't quite understand what's happened to the point. Now, this wasn't like I remember we talked about this during the playoffs last year. Like, this is just what the Rangers do. They give up a bunch of chances. They don't take a lot of shots, but they find a way to win games. Well, that formula is not working right now. And I think when you play a team like the Devils, that's just not – once again, that's just not a formula for success when you play a team like the Devils. Unfortunately, I think I'm right there with you. Devils minus 120. The more – what'll be interesting – it is going to be 5-on-5. Like, but what's funny though, man? Like, as much as you watch the games and you see all these like wide open chances and the Rangers leaving their goaltenders out to dry, they're still 7th in the league in goals against. Like, it's not like they're giving up. Like, it feels worse than that, does it not? Like, it feels like they're in the bottom half of the league when it comes to goals against, but they're still 2.83. But when you face a team like the Devils, I think this is where it does come back to bite you. But one thing I'm really curious to see is 5-on-5 tonight, because the Rangers are 11th in the league, 23.3% power play, 87.7% penalty kill, which is second in the league. So 11th in power play, second in penalty kill. The Devils, 33.7% on the power play, which is first in the league. 81% on penalty kill, which is ninth in the league. So they're kind of flip-flop there. One is 11 and second, one is first and ninth. Yeah. So this is going to be a 5-on-5 game. What can these two teams do 5-on-5? And unfortunately, I just trust the Devils a little bit more like that. The total, I'll stay away from, but I do like the Devils minus 120.
Yeah, I'm just here for the fights. You know what's going to happen.
Red is called up, right?
Yeah, I think so. Jimmy Vesey is getting scratched tonight. I don't know. You knew what was going to happen. The Devils geared up all season for that. They won payback for what Rumpy did to him last year, and I don't blame him. And I'm here for it. And, hopefully it wakes up the boys. But I'm grabbing my popcorn for that, and then I'm just going to hope my team wins a hockey game.
You know what's a really weird thing? This is a side note, still relevant to the game, but a side note. Dougie Hamilton's back, right? He's healthy. Huge part of that decor. 27 games played, 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points. 3 power play goals, I don't know power play points, but 3 power play goals. 2 game-winning goals. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
19 points. He's a 0 plus minus. 0. There's like +5, +13, -4, -2, +4. We're seeing -2, +10, +1. He is the only 0 on this roster, even 0. I don't know how that works. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, but it just caught my attention. I find that interesting.
Also, Dougie Hamilton shooting 4.5%.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you would hope and assume it turns around, but to be shooting like that and have 2 game-winning goals, you're making them count.
Yeah.
So you get your paycheck.
100%. All right. Moving on. Chicago, Toronto. We were talking before the show. I do not recall. I mean, you looked it up. It was a couple years ago, but I don't remember the last time seeing Toronto -430 favorites against the Chicago Blackhawks, who are +330. -1.5 for Toronto is -154. +1.5 for Chicago is +126. In case you haven't noticed, this is the game where it's hard to find value if you're betting the Toronto side of things. The over is 5.5 at -134, and the under is +110. When I was looking over this game earlier, I looked at the 60-minute line. It may have moved, but I'm pretty sure Toronto was like -260 on the 60-minute line. So it's not even like you're finding any value there. Andre, what do you got, man? Chicago, Toronto.
Yeah. Well, you maybe look it up again. They were -426 against the Sharks January 9th.
Okay.
Closest I could find. And then, I told you before the show, February 15th, 2023, against the Blackhawks, fittingly enough, -572. As for this game, you hit the nail on the head. Unless you're targeting the total, there's really no value. DK is not even letting me bump up the puck line to -2.5. Like you said, the 60-minute line is -260. Best thing to do, just bank on Chicago allowing, 6 whatever goals again, scoring 2 or 3 of their own, take the over. It's the best way I can kind of see this game. The Maple Leafs should wax them. I don't really know. When they're so lopsided like this, and it's not even like there's no like fives pick. There's no like, oh, the Maple Leafs are struggling. This is a wrong line. Like you can take the flyer or nothing. It's just a team that's bad and not playing well against a team that's good and at home and playing very well.
Yeah, 100%. Even to go back to the value thing, I even looked over 3.5 goals for Toronto. That's their team total. Even that is -154. Like you're just not getting it from anywhere. I don't like doing this very often. I don't do this very often, whether it's on the show or in my personal betting life. I don't really do this too often, but the Toronto Maple Leafs -2.5. That is +126, which is still incredibly short odds for a bet like that. But I do feel like the Leafs win this game pretty handily tonight. I think, it's easy for me to sit here and say, like, because quite honestly, this is a game that the Leafs have lost over and over and over again for years. Like they didn't beat the Blackhawks once last year. They played them twice. They didn't win one. It's a Monday night. It's a weird night. The Leafs don't play a lot of Monday nights. This just weird things happen in Scotiabank Arena on weekday games against bad teams. It's just happened for years. But I hate to say it because it makes me nervous, but the Leafs are just a different squad this year, man. Their goaltending is worlds better. Their defense is worlds better. They're just playing a better brand of hockey, a more sustainable brand of hockey. I do like, if you like the minus 154 for over 3.5 goals, I do like it. If you like the minus 150, or sorry, minus 160 now for minus 1.5, I like it. But minus 2.5 plus 126. Chicago, not a good goal scoring team. They're not. They've been picking it up a little bit, I guess, but still only 3 goals against the Blue Jackets the other night. If you look over the course of the season, 2.5 goals per game, man. 29th in the league. Toronto, just around 3 goals per game, 15th in the league. Not really up to their standard, but I do see this being kind of one of those games tonight. On the goals allowed side of things, I feel like the Blackhawks, this is actually pretty good for the Blackhawks. The last couple of years have been rough, but they're 3.08 goals per game allowed, which is 18th in the league. Toronto, 2.6 goals allowed also. And I believe that I heard this. I heard something like this. You might have to fact check me on this, but I believe that Toronto and Minnesota they both have allowed 31 5-on-5 goals this year, which is the best in the league. So Minnesota, Toronto tied. If you're only allowing, you've only allowed 31 5-on-5 goals, and you're playing a team like the Blackhawks, I don't know. I feel like that's going to bode pretty well for you. However, Chicago's power play pretty good this year, man. 25.7%. I don't know if that's just because they haven't been on the power play a lot or what the deal is, but I really do like Toronto minus 2.5. They're slowly starting to get their guys back. Matthews came back on the weekend. Matthew Nyes came back on the weekend. Still missing a few guys. Still the skeleton of an AHL roster a little bit. But I just feel like the way the Leafs are playing on defense, the way they're playing between the pipes, I just don't think that the Blackhawks really have a chance here in this one. But like I said, stranger things have happened on a Monday night in Toronto. So if you're feeling the Chicago vibe, the odds are there for you. But I do think Toronto wins this one by multiple goals.
Yeah, right there with you. Worst part about this game, they're not even letting me bet on Chicago first goal. So it's just
they're not.
Not even an option. They don't want to entertain it. It's a shame. This used to be a free country.
I mean, if you want to get ultra specific, you can get the first goal scorer. If you want to take this to another level.
I mean, I've done this before with the Blackhawks. I always bet Kurashev first goal scorer.
Dude, that's
does it work?
31.
It's worked like twice, but
plus 3,100.
There you go. It's always
Pat Maroon plus 4,600. I'm looking at these. Pretty crazy, actually. Taylor Hall plus 2,600. Connor Bedard plus 2,000. Ryan Donato got a couple goals last night, plus 2,600. Okay. Tyler Bertuzzi against his old club, plus 2,700. Yeah. No. Matthew Nyes, first goal scorer, plus 1,300. That's worked for me a couple times this year, but all right, let's move on. One more game to get to, everybody. We appreciate you watching, spending your Monday afternoon with us. Shout out Total Apex Sports for having us on board. And we will shout out our sponsor here in a minute when we get to our best bets. First, the Dallas Stars are in Utah to take on the Hockey Club. I was listening to a Dallas Stars podcast today, and they called the Utah Hockey Club an expansion team. Not true. I don't know why I felt that I needed to bring this to light, but they're talking about pumping the tires of, for the first time ever, playing expansion team, Utah Hockey Club. They're not an expansion team. They're not. and it's not really the first time ever. But they are in Utah for the first time, so I guess it's a first for something. Utah plus 108 at home. Dallas minus 130 on the road. Minus 1.5 for Dallas is plus 180. Plus 1.5 for Utah, minus 225. The over is 6.5 at plus 100. And the under is minus 122. Andre, what do you got, man? Dallas, Utah.
I feel like the world is just trying to trick us into thinking Utah's some brand new club. And I know they don't have Arizona's history, but they were a thing before. I don't know why everyone's acting like they're just came
I
out of
know.
the dirt one day and just I don't know. It's making me resent them. Like you were a thing. You were the Coyotes. Stop trying to lie to me. Maybe that plays into this. I don't know. I think this line is a little weird, or at least I did when I first looked at it. But the Stars have been pretty vulnerable on the road this season, to the point where they just lost 6-2 in Chicago. 2 days before that, they lost 6-4 in Carolina. So might be onto something here. Vegas, especially when you look at the goals allowed for the Stars in those losses, especially when the goals allowed for them on the road, period. At home, they allow 2 goals per game. Even on the road, they allow more than 3.5. They have a negative goal differential on the road as well. PK is 10% worse. Power play goes up. Scoring is fine. I like the over in this game. We know what Utah does typically. They just beat Vegas 6-0. They scored 3 goals in their 2 games before that. For the most part, I'd say I don't even know what the hockey club is really. They're weird. They're 500 at home though. This is a unique advantage. They're probably gonna light the lamp a bunch against the Stars team because of their issues. They're gonna give up a bunch of goals on their own. That's what they do. They allow more than 3 goals per game at home as well. Their PK is under 70% at home, so they're really struggling to stop pucks in Salt Lake City. I like the over more than anything in this game instead of picking a side, honestly. But I would lean Dallas just because I trust them more. They're a better team. Not confident about it though. Give me the over.
So a weird thing with this game, Casey Smith is in net tonight for Dallas, backing up Jake Ottinger. And Vamelka is in net tonight for Utah. And Vamelka, we both know he does some weird things against good teams. Just 54 save shutout for no reason. Vamelka, it's weird because he's 3-6-1. Record is not good. 241 goals against, 917 save percentage. You have Connor Ingram, who's 6-4-3, 361 goals against, 871 save percentage. It's like, for whatever reason, when Vamelka is in net, and I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but this kind of tells the story that whenever Vamelka is in net, they don't score for him, at least not consistently. And it's very weird. I don't know. Who was in net on Saturday against Vegas? Was that Connor Ingram or was that Vamelka?
Oh man, it was my wallet being lit on fire. That's what it was.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. I know that was infuriating. I couldn't believe it, dude. That was like one of the last games I needed, and after the first period, it was over.
Vegas is usually money at home.
Yeah,
there was only their 3rd home loss in like 13 games. So that shut out too. Stauber started for Utah in that game. But yeah,
okay, so neither of them. Yeah, so. To me, the fact that Connor Ingram and Vamelka are in net, Vamelka and Casey Smith are in net, it kind of makes you think about Utah a little bit. The thing with Dallas that I find really curious, and I think that they are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it by 2 goals. And the reason why is we talked about this last week. They blew a 3-1 goal lead going into the 3rd period against Carolina earlier in the week. Then they go to Chicago, and they were never even in that game, even for a minute. And then they go to Dallas. Were they in? Yes, they were in Dallas to play Colorado on Friday night, the TNT game. And they were phenomenal. They played a terrific hockey game. Colorado came back towards the end, made it interesting, but they played a really, really good hockey game. And then you had the game yesterday against Winnipeg where they played really, really well. So you are on a back-to-back, but that game against Winnipeg yesterday, I think the final score was 3-1. It could have been a lot worse than that. I thought Connor Hellebuck had a terrific game yesterday. So for me, I feel like there was 4 periods there early in the week last week where Dallas, their heads fell off their body. And the last 2 games, they've been really, really strong. Now, no Tyler Seguin tonight. He's not really playing back-to-backs probably for the rest of the year, according to the team. So that's interesting. But I really do like what I'm seeing in these last 2 games. And on the other side of that, though, it does kind of feel like a letdown spot for Dallas just because they just beat, and I know Colorado is what they have been, but that's still a good team over there. And you beat the Winnipeg Jets, which is one of the best, if not the best team in the National Hockey League right now. You just beat them both 2 out of the last 3 nights. And now you're facing a Utah team in Utah. Maybe it's a letdown spot for Dallas, but I do think they come to play, and I do think that they win by at least 2 goals. Just to get that odds back up. -1.5, +180. I like what you're saying about the over. I'm personally going to stay away from it, but I do like the +180, -1.5. Mason Marchment, 4 goals in his last 5 games, including a beautiful one last night. He is +290 to score tonight. And he's the hottest goal scorer between these 2 teams. I really like that one. Dylan Guenther, +210. A weird thing about this game, and I don't know why this is the way it is with a backup goaltender, and I guess Utah is basically the definition of a tandem. They both basically almost played the exact same amount. There's no goal scoring odds shorter than +210. That's the shortest odds for someone to score a goal tonight. And I would love to look a bit deeper and figure out why that is. But I do like Dylan Guenther +210. I like Matt Duchene +220. And I like Mason Marchment +290.
Love it.
All right. Moving on to our best bets brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, tons of different cards. And with our promo code SportsAddict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to FirstRoundCollectibles.com today. That's the number 1, STRoundCollectibles.com. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what do you got, man? Not a lot to choose from tonight, but I know we can find value somewhere. What do you got?
Oh, of course. I picked the over in all 3 games, but I'm going to go back to the first one. The Rangers just started out the season so strong. They've allowed 3+ goals in, 7 straight now. This Devils team, they don't need a lot of shots to get a lot of production, but they're going to get a ton because that's what the Rangers have been doing lately. On the flip side, Rangers is still scoring for the most part. I think they've only been held to multiple goals, twice all season. So, or not multiple. I think they've only been held to 1 goal twice all season. They haven't been shut out yet. So I think the Rangers will be fine. They'll light the lamp 2 or 3 times on their own. 4-3 at worst, I think, is the score for this game. If you're talking about just like the total goals. So I like the over 6.5 there.
I'm going a bit off the road with this one, off road, if you will, with this one. One thing about the Chicago-Toronto game that I did not mention is tonight is Monday night, which means that it is now Amazon Hockey Night Prime Hockey Night, something I forget what it's called. Monday Night Hockey on Amazon Prime, where every single Monday in Canada there is a game featured on Amazon Prime, and one of the two teams, sometimes both of them, but one of the two teams is Canadian, and it features a Canadian city and blah blah blah. Well, this is Toronto's third matchup on Amazon Hockey Night, and they won both of them pretty handedly. Beat the Jets, first loss of the season for the Jets, beat Tampa Bay, and there were two of their more impressive wins of the season. So there's something for you if you want to bet on Toronto. There's another little tidbit for you. Austin Matthews came back Saturday, couple assists, looked pretty good. I like 2+ points for Austin Matthews tonight. I think they score a bunch of goals. He's feeling good, feeling healthy. However, Christian McCaffrey went to Germany, and that doesn't look too good right now. So hopefully for Austin Matthews, the luck is a little bit better. But I do like 2+ points for Austin Matthews tonight. That is at +164, 2+ points.
Wow. Didn't expect a CMC reference on here.
I didn't mean to throw him under the bus. I'm just saying Germany didn't work.
I did mean to ask you about player props and scoring for the Toronto game. So I'm glad you said that, actually, because I was looking at Matthews and Marner in particular. But so far, we got 2 locked in. You want a family play, you want to cap it at 2.
Ooh. I don't know. You're pretty strong on the over in Dallas, Utah. I'm not really. You want to take Dallas money line? -130?
I mean, they're the better team. I'm feeling it. They should win.
I think that's better for a best bet. I really do like the -1.5. I really do think Dallas wins pretty handily tonight, but I don't know. I feel like the money line. It's a safer play.
Yeah.
It's -130. It's not awful.
I like it. Well, I have -125, actually. I think you have better Matthews odds. You probably have better parlay odds because of Matthews. I have +732 for the 3 pick.
Yes. Over 6.5, Rangers, Devils, Matthews 2 points. Dallas Stars money line +791.
Look at you.
791. We're back, baby.
Always getting me.
We are back. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate you, whether you're watching live or a little bit before puck drop. We really, really do appreciate it. Shout out to firstrondcollectibles.com. Promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. 10% off both regular priced and sales price items. That's promo code SportsAddict, firstrondcollectibles.com. Shout out to ApexSports.com. A lot of great sports content coming out. Whatever sports you want. They got it all. Head to TotalApexSports.com. Have a great rest of your nights. We'll be back tomorrow at some point. We'll see you